Okay, part three. I realized maybe I should discuss some thoughts. I've summed up why I couldn't, recap it like I needed to, because I couldn't bring any funny, and that's not fair to you guys. You guys come to my journal to be entertained, to laugh at something, and now that I'm, really getting onto the bandwagon of watching Channel Awesome, the Cinema Snob, Nostalgia Critic, and Spoonie, I see how funny tantrums are, but I would not be having tantrums here. And as I showed you, I would just be wanting to cry. And you didn't come here for that. So, I figure I may as well give a couple of thoughts on certain things that happened. I've got the file open in front of me. Looking at some of this stuff, Edward's such an a-hole. He really is. I mean, there's the line where he's like about to leave and says it'll be as if I never existed, and then he says, "Don't worry, you're human. Your memory sucks. Time will heal all wounds for your kind." And that it's like, what, you jerk. And that really sums up into the whole, how much Meyer hates humanity, or rather, it's not so much as hates humanity as much as she glorifies her Mary Sue's. And yeah, and I look at that line from Edward and then sit here and wonder, like, she jumps into his arms later in this book and doesn't think a thing of that line. Which is a why. He basically just said, "You suck. I mean, you really do. You are the most pathetic piece of dung on the planet." And she's okay with this. what am I saying? She agrees with him. Oh, jeez. And yeah, that line really stuck out to me. Like, wow, you're a real win. I can understand why people glorify you. And I just love that he says all this stuff, like, "You're not good for me," but he says that after he says, "I'm not good for you." Tells him he doesn't want her anymore, doesn't want her to come with her, says he's tired of pretending to be something he's not human. Like, when did you ever pretend to be human? She never questions any of this, as I said earlier. And I'm sitting here wondering, I've heard fans who read this, like, threw the book at the wall and just couldn't stand, "Oh no, Edward left." I was like, didn't you read what he said? Did you read that at all? You must not have. All you focused on was that he was leaving. You didn't hear what he said to her. He called her every bad name in the book, just summed up and done in fancy language. And the fans don't get it. They don't. I'm so confused at that. You must not have read this book as closely as you claim to. Oh, jeez. And then, of course, there's all the lines where he basically says, "Yeah, I lied." All those lines. The excuse that they can't stay in Forks because Carlisle can barely pass for 30, and he's claiming 33 now. They have to leave. And my question is, you've only been in Forks, like, a few years. Why didn't you claim he was younger? Duh. And, the way Carlisle acting, if he can barely pass for 30, why do you claim so old? The laws of adoption, as I proved back in the Twilight recap, they don't count for you. So, just say you're younger. Come on. Duh. It's a simple solution. If you've got an ageless face, as they claim he does, yeah, it's not that hard. So that was a huge plot hole there. And I also have to laugh. How much longer could we stay in Forks? But you came back to Forks after only 70 years. What's up with that? I can understand if they'd come around the area of Forks, but no, they come straight back to Forks. They've been in Forks before. That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. And she never asks him about that. I was wanting to write kind of a spite fic, in here of her calling him out on all of his BS because it was really necessary. Someone needs to call him out on this because it's so obvious that he's lying, and it's not just that, but I think Cleolinda hit on it in her New Moon recap of the movie. Said he's mansplaining, and you can just this is one of the few times where you can really hear Edward's tone because he's so voiceless in the books. He really is. I get no impression of how he's saying stuff most of the time, but I did here. And he had the most smug, pompous, patronizing tone imaginable in this scene. And all Bella does is screech and wail about how worthless she is and how she has to go with him, blah, blah, blah. She never once says, "Dude, don't talk down to me." Like, why didn't she just say that? You could have solved a lot of problems. Tell him not to talk down to you. Tell him to treat you like a person instead of, like, again, that creepy paternal vibe, "Oh, honey, when you're older, you'll understand." Yeah, I really needed more of that. Up till the end, he's treating her like a 4-year-old girl who's his daughter. Thanks. Well, I've ranted on that. May as well move into, when she runs off. She's trying to chase after him, the line, "Love, life, meaning, ellipses, over." Wow. You want to get a little more melodrama in there? So she just starts wandering after him. And, this is a completely pointless exercise. And I, I had to agree. I watched the Spoony New Moon review before I did this, and he's right. Why don't you call his house? Go to his house. I'm sure he's not gone yet. Just something. He has a phone, doesn't he? Call his number. Or did you not even think to get that? Is that how disconnected you are as a couple, that you don't even have his phone number? I mean, come on. Call Alice. She's supposed to be your best friend. Call her. Call somebody. Don't just wander off into the woods. Ugh. And then, of course, she falls over and lays there on the ground like a slug because it's her only defense. And then she talks about how the night is utterly black and talks about how some little bit of moonlight would filter down through the clouds. And then she says, perhaps there was no moon tonight. A lunar eclipse. A new moon. Those aren't the same things. And then the next line, a new moon. I shivered, though I wasn't cold. I didn't know the phases of the moon affected you so badly. Oh, wait. You were being sledgehammery with that symbology. Oh, God. It never stops being pathetic. It really doesn't. And then she just lays there and does nothing. She was just gonna lay there and die. The only reason she didn't is because someone saved her. She was just gonna lay there the whole time. Because nothing else matters. That's what she basically does say. Nothing matters. And it is as pathetic. It's totally pathetic. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. This isn't sad. This isn't devastating. It's just, it's not sad in the sense of Meyer wanted. I stand corrected. It's sad in the sense that, my God, you are the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. That kind of sad. And it never stops either for this whole book. It really doesn't. And I just love how limp she is through this whole scene. She just, again, Meyer loves to be carried around by big strong men, so she's got Sam Uli carrying him around, who the movie made no bones about how to introduce him. He was introduced pectorals first. And yeah, he carries her back home, and she just kind of hangs there like a rag doll. And I'm supposed to think that this is obviously showing us how traumatized she is. No, Meyer, because she does it all the time. Ending part 3, approaching the 10-minute mark. See you in part 4.